Hey guys, we're your hosts Jess and Fenella, and this is Cozy Crime Club. Each episode, we explore real cases from the eerie to the outrageous with curiosity, empathy, and just the right amount of dark humour. So pour yourself a big mug of something warm, tea, coffee, or maybe something a little stronger, grab a blanket and settle in. Welcome to the club.
Hey, welcome everyone to the club, episode 2. Can you believe it's here already?
Yes, we made it to episode 2.
We did indeed.
Yes.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. No, actually, I'm going to drink. What are you drinking tonight?
Well, I've got a ginger tea. Yeah. What about you?
I have a calming tea, so it's chamomile and lavender. It's my favourite.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, Fenella, what have you got for us tonight?
I have a unsolved case for us tonight. Not as historical as last week. Last week we went all the way back, and tonight we're not. Tonight we're going back just a few decades. So just to set the scene, we're in Victoria, Australia, 1980. This is a time before smartphones and surveillance cameras, before digital footprints. The southern suburbs of Melbourne were quiet, residential, and in some ways, too trusting. Places like Frankston and Tynong North, calm, suburban, and even sleepy. But beneath that calm, a nightmare was unfolding. First, we meet Alison Rook, 30th of May, 1980. Alison was 59 years old at the time. She was seen leaving her home on Hannah Street in Frankston at about 11 a.m. It was quite a normal day for Alison. She was just on her way to catch a bus into town to do some grocery shopping and to see a real estate agent to pay a bill. She had recently had some car trouble, which is why she was actually taking the bus that day. Normally she would have driven in. Now, Alison actually never made it to the grocery store nor to the realtors. And furthermore, the bus driver that was working that day didn't recall picking her up either. 5 weeks later, her body was found on the 5th of July by a dog walker in some scrubland about 12 kilometres away near McClellan Drive. When she was discovered, she was unclothed in a shallow grave with evidence that the person responsible had made some kind of attempt to conceal both her body and identity. Now, the police did look into this, of course, and they actually posted a $50,000 reward shortly after she was discovered there, but leads went nowhere. And then things escalated. Cut to December 6th, 1980. And on this day, 3 bodies were discovered. 1 elderly woman and 2 teenage girls. They were found together in a sand quarry off Brew Road, Tynong North. Their bodies were discovered by a group of men who were actually on their way to dispose of some animal remains on a secluded track leading from Brew Road near the quarry. All 3 were found together, same place, same time, but they did not disappear together. We first meet Bertha Miller. They do report her age as being 73, 75, so we'll just say she's in her 70s. And essentially in 1980, she was living with her brother-in-law, William, on Cardinia Street in Glen Iris. At 10:15 a.m. on Sunday, the 10th of August, Bertha called out to William, just telling him, I'm just heading out to church. I'm going to be home late. So basically, I'm out for the day. I'll see you when I get home. Now, she was a regular at the local church, and in order to get there, she would typically catch the tram from High Street, Glen Iris. And her friend, Jessie Moore, lived nearby in Burke Road. For the previous 10 years, so literally a decade, Bertha and Jessie had actually caught the same tram to church service every Sunday, the 10:47 a.m. tram along High Street. Bertha would normally board and then Jessie would join her shortly after. The 10th of August, 1980, Jessie got on the tram and Bertha was not waiting for her. Reports indicate that she was last seen by a shopkeeper making the 400-meter walk to the tram stop, and that's as much as we know so far. Nearly 3 weeks later, on the 28th of August, 14-year-old Catherine Headland was heading towards the bus stop near her home. Catherine was actually born in England, 1965, And she was just 1 year old when her family emigrated to Australia, where they went on to make a life for themselves and become part of the community. She lived with her mother and older brother in Allen Street, Berwick. Catherine was a bright young girl who had the world at her feet. We meet her as she's on her way to a part-time job at a local supermarket. For any Australian listeners, she was on her way to Coles. You might be familiar with Coles. For context for everyone else, Coles is an Australian supermarket chain. And like most supermarkets, it's a popular place of employment for teens and young adults. Now, Catherine worked part-time on weekends, usually, at the Coles supermarket in the local Fountain Gate shopping centre. On Thursday, the 28th of August, 1980, during the school holidays, it was going to be Catherine's first midweek shift. So normally she's working Saturdays or Sundays, maybe Friday nights, but now she was on school holidays. Now, she didn't actually have to be at work until midday, but she'd actually left home at 9:30 a.m. because she went to go visit her boyfriend, John. John lived on High Street in Berwick. They actually had a bunch of other friends over visiting that day. It was school holidays, and they were just watching TV, listening to records, hanging out. But she, of course, had to get to work by 12. So she did leave at around 11:10 in the morning, 10 past 11. And she just walked off to the bus stop at the corner of Manuka Road and High Street. The plan was to catch the 11:20 a.m. bus to work. Catherine didn't make it to work that day, and she was never seen again.
Fountain Gate, because we were in Berwick, right?
Yeah.
So that's where she was coming from. Actually, Fountain Gate is where I grew up. Like, that was the shopping centre that everyone would hang out in.
Oh my God.
Although this was 19...
So you can...
Yeah,
this is
freaking me out.
1980, so well before you were hanging out there. But you can picture it, you can picture the area, like what you would have been doing, the lifestyle.
Yeah, like maybe like 20 years later, I'd say, like around 2000s was when I was hanging around there. But that's also where they filmed Kath and Kim, if people are into that show, which I
Any Kath and Kim fans out there, hit us up.
Yeah.
Big fans.
Yeah, it's so close to home, this story, like this case. But I did not know it was in and around that area.
Nearly 6 weeks later, 18-year-old Anne-Marie Sargent was on her way to her local Commonwealth Employment Service in Dandenong when she disappeared. Some reports indicate that she lived with her mother at the time, but then some indicate that she lived with family friends on Railway Road in Cranbourne. On the 6th of October 1980, Anne-Marie visited her mother on Cranbourne Drive. When she left, she said she was headed to the nearby suburb of Dandenong. She told her mother that she would be returning later in the day to grab some clothing as well. Anne-Marie actually made it to the employment office, but after she left the office, she was never seen alive again. Now, the fact that all the three victims who were found together actually disappeared weeks apart is interesting. It could indicate a few different things. One of the things that it possibly indicates is maybe that the culprit kept them for some time before disposing of them simultaneously.
I think that's a really interesting point too. Like, did the perpetrator hold these women before or after they had died?
Basically getting pretty spooky by this point. I think when three completely separate individuals go missing on a different time and date and then are found all together in the exact same location, not just a general area.
Yeah, I think definitely also like the community would start, because obviously that would come out in the news, and the community would start. I mean, it's a pretty small area back then in the 80s. I wouldn't say it's like, not that it's not like a country town or anything at all. I mean, it's not that far from Melbourne, but yeah.
Well, it would have been a bit of a quieter time for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't around there then, but I can imagine it would have been. And definitely I feel like that would have caused a fair few worried people in the community.
For sure.
And the fact that there doesn't seem to be some kind of pattern. It's not like, oh, we found 3 girls that were in their teens. There was also someone who was in their 70s, and that's just makes, like, it's not like parents are like, oh, keep all your girls at home or just make them go out with, a chaperone or something. There's no rhyme or reason to it at this point. So I'm no idea what's happening. So it's pretty scary.
Yeah. It is, 100%. So everyone's definitely feeling really unsettled. But At this point, what we are seeing is a pattern where a person disappears and then are found deceased some weeks later. We next meet a woman named Joy Carmel, or Joy Summers. Her name is reported differently. She was 55 years old at the time, and she lived about 1 kilometer from the first found victim. By all accounts, they didn't actually know each other, but the proximity and similarity in age is unsettling. On Friday, the 9th of October, 1981, so we have skipped into the following year, 55-year-old Joy was making her way to the shops, which was a very normal part of her weekly routine. It's Friday afternoon. She's just going to get her shopping done ahead of the weekend. At about 1:20 p.m., while waiting for the next bus to take her into town on Frankston Dandenong Road, which is the same stretch of road where Alison disappeared, Joy vanished. The bus driver that day could not recall picking her up on his shift. 6 weeks later, on Sunday, the 22nd of November, 1981, Joy's body was found nearly 12 kilometers away by a man who was collecting firewood near McClellan Drive, Frankston. 1 year and 3 months later, on the 3rd of February, 1983, a man pulled over on the side of the road on Prince's Freeway in Tynong North after he got a flat tire. So the man exited his vehicle to change the tire when he noticed a bone protruding from the bush. He collected the bone and headed to Warragul police station to hand it in for testing. So something in him must have... Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm just jumping in here.
Go on.
I don't know in what world you just pick up a bone.
Yeah.
Like, and take it. What?
I know. Right, yeah. So presumably, from what I could find, something in him knew that it wasn't an animal bone. Because you know how, I don't know if you've heard about this, but, well...
Leave it.
Yeah, I suppose you could react that way. But yeah, he took it with him.
That is so strange to me. But, I don't know. Like, I feel like
you
would have gone, like, flagged the area somehow so you don't lose it and driven to the police and be like, by the way, there's a bone in this location. Can you go and investigate?
Yeah.
Just in case, like, they needed to know how it was left. But in saying that again, in the 80s, like, DNA wasn't a thing as we know it now, or even as we know it in the 90s and early 2000s. So
yeah,
I got to keep remembering that it was a different time. But I just think that's so wild to pick up a bone and just take it.
I think it's kind of hard to remember as well that it's a different time because we're talking about familiar places.
Yeah, and I'm putting myself there when I grew up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not that time. But yeah, no. So basically I don't know, to me, this read as a perfectly normal Australian thing to do. So maybe getting the real Australian's opinion changes things. It was like, there's something wrong and I'm just going to get it checked out anyway.
And I mean, amazing that he did, because...
Absolutely.
That's perfect.
What he did after he collected the bone, he took it to Warragul police station, right? Then they launched a search of the area. Now, the search successfully located the remains of a woman, later identified as 34-year-old Naramal. She was born in Thailand and actually married a Victorian dairy farmer named Wayne Stevenson in 1978. They got married in Thailand before they moved to Australia in August of 1979, so just about a year after they got married. Wayne and Naramal lived on a farm in Deans Marsh. On the 28th of November 1980, they visited Melbourne with another couple to see a concert. The next day, on the 29th of November, they all visited another friend in Park Street in Brunswick. And when they got there, Naramal was actually upset and refused to get out of the car and go up to the flat with everyone else. But Wayne and the other couple went into the flat where they started to drink wine and have coffee and just hang out as they had planned. While they were doing that, Wayne did actually come down to the car at least 3 times to check on Naramal. The second time he came down, he found her walking down the street. So, like, just wandering down the street. Not sure if she was leaving or if she was just kind of letting off steam and just pacing up and down the street, but essentially she wasn't in the car. The third time, he found her talking Thai to a man in a car. The man had a European accent. After this third check, Wayne sat with his wife in their car until it was nearly dawn.
So if he had a European accent, was he speaking English?
The thing is that they met in Thailand and they lived there, married there, before they came to Australia. So he is at least very familiar with the Thai language. So when he said that she was speaking Thai, I'm assuming they both, herself and the man, were both speaking Thai.
Interesting. And then when he saw her speaking to the guy in the car, did he then stay or leave? Or we don't know.
Wayne tells the story that he then sat with his wife in their car until it was nearly dawn, at which point he then walked upstairs to the flat and fell asleep, leaving her in the car. Not 100% why, again, she's not entering the flat.
Big fight for that. Like, creepy to be downstairs away from people in a car at nighttime. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would have been a pretty big fight.
Yeah.
I feel.
Cut to shortly after 6 a.m. Now, this is November in Victoria. Shortly after 6 a.m. is generally kind of when the sun might be rising around sleepily, kind of between 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. So he hasn't been gone that long, and the car was still there, but Narimal was missing. So what do we have so far? We have a range of victims, some of which have similarities regarding age. There's not enough of a commonality there across all victims.
So pretty much just females. And location, maybe, like, and how they were found.
Yeah. What this kind of brings us to now is, well, what did the police do? Well, they didn't really connect the cases because there wasn't that much to connect them initially. Because of that, 2 investigations initially were being carried out for the Tynong North murders and the Frankston murders. However, that did change down the track when investigators noticed similarities in the MO. There were also at least 2 murders in neighbouring state South Australia, which also bore similarities. The similarities were that all victims were on foot at the time of their disappearance. Most were heading towards public transport of some description. No eyewitnesses describing anything unusual. Cause of death could not be identified. And most were stripped of possessions and then discarded near a road or a bush track. So investigators, when they started tying things together, they did float the possibility that the perp or even potentially perpetrators were known to the victims due to the lack of anything out of the ordinary being heard or seen. So there was never a commotion of note that any neighbors or passers-by thought to report. This could mean, or they thought it could mean, that the victims went with the perp willingly. Maybe they knew them. The police did actually, though, have a suspect at one point. A man named Harold, I think you pronounce his name Janman. Harold was known to offer lifts to women on the Frankston Dandenong Road, and because of the proximity to the disappearances, he was sort of brought in for questioning. On the 3rd of December in 1981, he was first questioned by authorities, and while he was highly suspected, he maintained his innocence throughout. Janman continued to live a long life, eventually passing away in August of 2020 at the age of 88 years old. Now, to date, nobody has been charged with the crime, and in October 2017, police announced a $1 million reward per victim for any information which resulted in an arrest across any of the 6 open cases for Alison, Bertha, Catherine, Anne-Marie, Joy, and Narimal. In 2018, Cheryl Goldsworthy, who had been friends with Catherine Headland, made a public call for any help or tips about the case, fearing that it had gone cold. She and Catherine had attended the same school and walked to school together most days before Catherine's untimely passing. Cheryl made a call for justice, saying that the perpetrator could still be free and just living out their days, while herself and other affected loved ones still seek closure. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers Victoria on 1800 333 000 or submit a confidential report via the Crime Stoppers Victoria website, and we will pop that website on screen. But for anyone listening, it's just crimestoppersvic.com.au.
This is really devastating.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, I've been researching a case at the moment, which I'm doing in a few weeks' time, possibly, but it's also an unsolved one. And in these cases, it's so hard to imagine how the family and loved ones and friends, how they even carry on not knowing. And this one is wild. It just seems like there's, I think you said at one point there was 2 investigations because they hadn't linked them at the time, but
Yes, there were 2 investigations at first, and I do totally understand why Cheryl came out in 2018 to say that they need to revisit the case, or just asking for anyone that had any tips maybe just to report them, because there really wasn't much found at all. And I guess it's hard now because this was quite some time ago, so there could be people that know some information but don't know it's important.
I don't know. Like, I don't know in what circumstance. Maybe I'm just trying to find evidence. Like, just because it was a while ago, but it's still also not that long ago, and there is still definitely people alive who can help and
definitely
might, like you said, know something without realizing it. But this is such a strange one. I was not expecting this tonight.
Well, I wasn't expecting it when I started researching it, to be honest, because I ended up with way more questions than I had at the start. And I found a couple things interesting. So I was expecting to see a closer look at the bus drivers and the tram drivers. I was very surprised by how little there was really to say about it. It was very similar to a missing persons case. Whereas these people, they're not missing people. I don't know about you, but Narimal's husband, Wayne, is telling a story that, to me, is a little bit... I just found his story very strange, and it had the most information. And the person that disappeared was kind of constantly within sight as well.
Curious, the story that Wayne has. So many questions. I feel like I'm going to be up all night just thinking about theories for this one. And I would love to hear them from everybody as well. I mean, we are the Cosy Crime Club, so again, we want people to contribute. Tell us what you think. What do you think about Wayne? What do you think about any of the cases? Well, Fenella, thanks for bringing that to us today. Like I said, this is going to have me up all night, maybe all week. I really want to hear what people think, though. I really do. So if you know anything about it or have any thoughts or theories, definitely let us know. Thanks for getting cozy with us today, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, share the club with a friend, or comment below. You can join us on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay cozy.